No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you here on a Saturday night, talking all about the Winnipeg Jets, the post-game show, courtesy, brought to you, presented by our friends at Play Now, just like they presented this morning's Illegal Curve hockey show and last night's Illegal Curve post-game show. A much happier tone to last night's post-game show live at Boston Pizza, as we were, than tonight, where the Winnipeg Jets dropped the decision 4-1 to the Nashville Predators. You knew, we talked about this today, Dave, that despite the Predators and their lousy record and where they are in the standings, this was going to be a more difficult game than last night's contest. You knew that you were going to have a desperate Nashville Predators team. Frankly, I still think they are better than their record is because of the talent that they have on their lineup, and that starts really in net with UC Saros, who affirms himself and continues to affirm himself as the backbone to that Nashville Predators team, because he was terrific, particularly early in tonight's game, and that was largely the difference. The Jets started strong, but they lost the momentum as the game went on, and now we sit here in wait for health updates regarding Dylan Samberg, who leaves the game in the second period after blocking a shot, and now the Jets played on the second half of a back-to-back with only 5 defensemen.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously less than ideal, Drew. And the one, if you're looking for a positive, if you're looking for a rainbow, it is the fact that Eric Comrie was sensational in this game. He was the only reason it wasn't a much different score. I thought he was really good. And, you can't blame him for the bounce that goes from off Hayden Fleury. And we'll get into it, obviously, in the game recap. But I thought Eric Comrie was great. I thought the passing was atrocious. It looked like they were chucking grenades out there. There was no flow to this game from this team. When Scott Arniel says, when we don't play fast, that's not our brand of hockey. Well, they didn't play fast. They looked like a team that just didn't have their legs. Mm-hmm. And and as you said, let's be realistic. Nashville was 19 points back of the Winnipeg Jets coming into tonight's game. So, I mean, Nashville had I don't think that they're going to catch the Winnipeg Jets per se, but I think that, to your point, that they need to start putting together some wins,
right?
Because they're quickly getting left behind. And so and like we said, starting this morning, they were tied with Chicago for last place in the Central, and Chicago actually lost in a overtime, I think, to Philadelphia. So they would have, had they not gotten any points, they would have been in last in the Central. Now they're 1 point up on Chicago, which is not something you should be maybe celebrating for the Nashville Predators, especially based on how things were projected to go for you this year. So, I just didn't think the Jets had it going on. And, you lose Dylan Samberg when he blocks that shot. That's unfortunate for Winnipeg. And it wasn't crisp. It wasn't good. It wasn't clean. It wasn't all the things that we've come to expect from the Winnipeg Jets. And so they'll have to park it, figure it out. We'll discuss it, of course, here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, brought to you by our friends at Play Now. But I would say that the Jets are going to do what they've done all season long. Now, they're not going to be able to park it entirely because they're going to have to figure out what the hell is going on with Dylan Samberg, who obviously, like we said, was blocked that shot, did not return. But once that is assessed and where that kind of lands them, then we'll see what happens with the Winnipeg Jets. We know they're off tomorrow, so we won't expect an update other than they'll recall Ville Heinola up to the big club, and that's about it.
Yeah, which they had already said they were going to do, so that in and of itself won't be news. And of course, as soon as we see anything regarding Dylan Samberg from Jets head coach Scott Arniel and from our buddy Mike McIntyre, who of course is on site for the Winnipeg Free Press in Nashville, we'll bring it to you live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. The Jets started strong, but like I said, look, you look at this one for the Jets' perspective, second half of a back-to-back, so those are always difficult at the best of times. You're playing a Nashville Predators team that has been off since Wednesday, so they've got a big, they've had a significant
kind of
break.
Felt like that Tampa game, Drew,
where
a team was waiting for you and ready and
exactly.
needing a win.
Off. Yeah. I mean, that's not easy to overcome, though, that set of circumstance. Now, the Jets didn't play a great game. They weren't crisp, as you said. I thought they started strong for the first 5-7 minutes of this game and then got progressively worse as the game went on. UC Saros, you could see, was on his game, and he was the reason why the Predators, were able to end up taking that 1-0 lead, which we'll get to in the course of the Play Now game recap here. But, from the Jets' perspective, you sort of, again, I understand why people are upset. People are fans. They always want to win. Any loss is a cause for concern. I get that. I get texts from friends about that. I'm thinking, you are normally a rational human being, but all of a sudden the Jets lose one game to fall to 17-4, and you lose, all sense of composure and all sense of rational thought. I get all of that. That's the part of being a fan, but you understand where this loss comes from my perspective. You understand it. It's very similar to that loss in Tampa Bay on that Thursday. And the question is, how do you now respond? Because Monday is the sort of the main event on the first three of these games on this road trip. Monday is always going to be the main event against the Minnesota Wild. And lo and behold, it appears as though it's going to be a Minnesota Wild team without Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah.
So you're not happy about the loss. You're not happy about how you played. The question is, how do the Jets respond come Monday, which is obviously something for Monday's post-game show more than tonight, though.
Right. But, I think, Drew, the one thing you expect from Winnipeg is, how do they assess their game? Right. And we'll hear the comments. And like you said, Michael will report on them from what we hear from Scott Arneal after the game. Those, of course, will be on the post-game recap on illegalcurve.com. So you can always check that out. But to me, like I said, it's not really hard. This wasn't a Jets style of game, and you could see it. And they were lucky to be where they were in the game, tied after 40 minutes, but not
Eric Comrie, the only reason. I mean, again, the numbers are going to look like Eric Comrie gave up 3 goals, which he did in the fourth into the end.
Yeah, but it was 3 goals on 36 shots for the record.
Eric Comrie was great tonight,
and he went 18 for 18 in the middle frame. So, again, as I was saying, to me, you're definitely, if anybody is blaming Eric Comrie for this loss, the only thing I could say is, like, maybe you want him to cover the rebound on the Marchessault goal, but there's nothing that you can blame him for on the Fleury one. I mean, that's not his responsibility. But again, we'll get into the various goals. But I thought Comrie is the only reason this team was even close to being in this game. So if anybody's blaming Eric Comrie, I think that's a bit ludicrous. My opinion. You're entitled to yours, of course. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't play that way, I don't think Connor Hellebuck is making a vast difference in the hockey game in that regard.
No, I don't think this is about goaltending at all. This is about a Winnipeg Jets.
I think it's about what we're about to put on the thing, Drew. Jets got completely out-hustled all game.
They got outplayed by the more desperate team. And oftentimes, when it's one game, in an 82-game season, a desperate team that has some talent still. That's the thing about Nashville. Look, I know where they are in the standings, but you can't tell me that roster is bereft of talent. They're not. Right. We've seen rosters that have no talent. Nashville's roster still has NHL players predominantly on it. They just haven't, for whatever reason, been able to succeed so far this year. So you know that they have the pride and they have the wherewithal to get back into it, at least to make it a competitive game against a team like the Jets on the second half of a back-to-back. And if it sounds like we're making excuses for the Jets, maybe we are. So be it. But I think that we're just really giving you more so the rational understanding and the context for this kind of effort and this kind of performance. You're not happy with it. You're not pleased with it, but this is where it sort of, you begin to can maybe comprehend it and understand it, why the Winnipeg Jets ended up, falling by the 4-1 margin. Had they get a couple bounces that go their way, have the UC Saros not be at his absolute A game, tonight, it's a different contest. The Jets, I thought, for the first, 20 some odd minutes were in it, and then Nashville eventually took over. And of course, when they get the power play goal early in the third period after the Jets escape the second period, that sort of makes it a whole different ball game for the final 20 minutes, Dave.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's a pretty good assessment, Drew. I really do. I don't think it doesn't require much more. I mean, this is like I said, and I think you said this from the outset, and it's an accurate assessment. You're not going to win all the games, but you want to ensure that the process is right. That to me is what we're always evaluating, because nobody expects the Winnipeg Jets to win, whatever their winning percentage was, 85% coming into tonight. So
Right.
you're not expecting them to go 85%. You're not expecting them to go like 70%, to be honest with you. So if they have some latitude, but again, you want to make sure that if you're losing games, you're not going away from the structure, even if you can't be at your speed.
Okay, breaking news. This Jim Toth just tweeted this out. Dylan Samberg has a broken foot and is heading back to Winnipeg tomorrow. So clearly the game that we just watched becomes secondary. The result of the game that we just watched becomes secondary for the Winnipeg Jets, because every year has adversity. Right. And now the Winnipeg Jets are going to be experiencing that with the loss of Dylan Samberg, as according to Jim Toth via the Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel, Dylan Samberg has a broken foot and will be out of the lineup for the foreseeable future with a broken foot. And now the Winnipeg Jets have big question marks on their defense. They always had big question marks on their defense, right, but now they have even more significant question marks on their defense, on their second pairing, a second pairing that had been so solid for the team through the first 21 games of this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a unfortunate situation, and that's not a player that the Jets really wanted to lose. Mm-hmm. And now your depth will be tested. Coincidentally, you're going to get someone back in Ville Heinola, who, if folks want to listen to what Eric Dubois had to say about him, you're going to get him back. Logan Stanley, we don't know how far away he is. So, this is, unfortunately, it's a tough situation. Dylan Samberg has become a quintessential part of this Jets decor, but this is just the reality of hockey. And this is just the reality. Look, the Jets, the way you should look at it is that through 20 games before game number 21, the Jets were remarkably lucky. And, they said it on the broadcast today, Drew. The Jets have iced the same lineup. I think it was like 16 straight games of forwards, and maybe a similar number for 5 of the 6D. So this is a Jets team that really hasn't had to deal with injuries. And we look at other teams, and you mentioned it, the Minnesota Wild, who are hot on the Jets' heels. They lost Gabriel Kaprizov to that hit yesterday in Edmonton a couple days ago.
Yeah,
didn't play tonight.
Drake Kajula is the one who laid the hit on Kaprizov.
Didn't play tonight in Calgary, and he's being assessed right now. So he's
getting an MRI tomorrow is what Elliot Friedman reported during the Saturday headlines on the Sportsnet broadcast. So if you're getting an MRI on Sunday, it's unlikely that he's going to be in the lineup for the Minnesota Wild on Monday.
So I'm just saying that every single team has to deal with this. It's not like the Jets suddenly have a problem that nobody else has had to deal with. So you have to adapt, and that's just part of the idea of a team that has depth. Now, again, Dylan Samberg has stepped up in the absence of Brendan Dillon and adopted that role and been very good in that place. But like I said, this is just going to be another opportunity for someone. Like I said, coincidentally, Ville Heinola, we didn't know if he, a big subject of our conversation this morning on the Illegal Griff Hockey Show, Drew, was, will Ville Heinola play on Monday? I think that question has now been answered. Yeah. Ville Heinola will be playing on Monday. Most likely, obviously, they could always throw Dylan Coughlin in and figure some things out. I don't know if he can play on the left side, but my expectation would be that you're going to have, Ville Heinola.
Well, I think you move Dylan. I think Ville Heinola gets the next shot. I mean, now does he slide in and play with Colin Miller, or does he slide in and end up playing with Neil Pionk? Because, I would think right now it becomes with Neil Pionk. I mean, Hayden Fleury, why change 2 deep pairings on your back end moving forward on Monday? I mean, you knew there was always going to be a bit of an uphill climb for Ville Heinola to acclimatize himself to a new D partner, whether that be Pionk or whether that been Colin Miller. But all of a sudden, Hayden Fleury is going to move up into your top 4. Yeah. To me,
plus I think it's also too much to ask of Hayden Fleury to be in your top 4.
And that he's had some chemistry and he's had some solid performances with Colin Miller. So leave that be and put Pionk and Heinola together and see what they can do. We don't know. It's obviously you're not easing Ville Heinola back into the Jets lineup anymore. Now you're not sheltering him. You're giving him top 4 minutes as a result of the untimely injury. Not that there ever are timely injuries, but the untimely injury suffered by Dylan Samberg. If you're just joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show, Jets defenseman Dylan Samberg has suffered a broken foot in tonight's game versus the Nashville Predators, heading back to Winnipeg, and will be reassessed accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for people who are saying, Ville Heinola is not the answer. And I think what I would say though is you always have to give the one thing, Drew, you mentioned, I believe it was you this morning, was guys have to feel that they have that opportunity and that there's not like, the hook is going to be right there. If you make a mistake, you're getting pulled out of the lineup because, you're in a rotation of some sort. So really, this is probably for the first time in Ville Heinola's career, or for the first time since I think he was a rookie, that Ville Heinola will feel that he can get some games under his belt for the Winnipeg Jets. And maybe he'll do something with it. We don't know. We don't know. But I mean, let's be realistic, people. That even though look, I don't want to put too much on his shoulders, right? Because Eric Dubois, said very clearly, and maybe we should play that at some point, Drew, because I thought his answer was good. I don't know if you can pull that up, but I clipped it. So I mean, it is on my Twitter if folks want to see it, or on my Blue Sky, whichever social media you prefer. But I just think, okay, but it was just he just said that because my question to him tonight after the Moose game was, did you feel that Ville Heinola got out of the conditioning what he needed? And he said, he talked about the first game on Thursday. He said it wasn't great. He thought he was a lot better today. Basically talked about the kind of player Ville Heinola is. And then he ended up joking, saying that, he told Ville he didn't want to see him again in the AHL. And of course he came and joined him for a couple of games, but now he doesn't want to see him back. And I just think that you have a guy, Scott Arniel has a lot of faith in him. I know there's a lot of people who think that I'm not expecting Ville Heinola to be the savior of the Jets organization, but guess what? Ville Heinola doesn't have to be the best. Oh, here we go.
For sure. Ville's biggest strength is his hockey sense. So, if it doesn't matter how long you are, you get kind of you'll manage a game, and conditioning wise, I could tell he was in good condition. That's sometimes that's where we're afraid the most. Conditioning part of the game when you haven't played since the beginning of the year. But I thought he had a lot of touches. That's what we were hoping for him. He likes to play with a puck. He likes to make good breakout. Likes to jump in the rush, get involved in the offensive zone. And I thought he got exactly what needed to get before going back with the Jets. And what I like is his buddy yesterday was, my God, I'm sorry for one game, but I thought he was really, really good today. I felt like his first game was not as clean, as far as execution and all that stuff, which we expected to not be as clean. But I thought today was really good. Made a lot of nice play, a lot of nice touches. And I felt like he was a lot more involved as far as communicating on the ice. I could hear his voice a lot. I could hear him talking to Bart a lot defensively in the D-zone coverage. So I think he's ready to go. I told him last year I didn't want to see him anymore, but I guess he came back for a couple more games.
There you go. That's Eric Dubois. So that's Manitoba Moose assistant coach Eric Dubois talking about Ville Heinola and his performance today with the Manitoba Moose. A Moose victory. Touch about that a little bit later on in the show. But now it obviously becomes a much more significant issue for the Winnipeg Jets with the news that Dylan Samberg has suffered a broken foot and is going to be out of the Winnipeg Jets lineup moving forward. So that's obviously we don't have a time frame. I'm not going to play doctor on that front. I'm not going to other people will say that and you'll find out the time frame in due course of time. But there you go for the Winnipeg Jets. So all of a sudden, where the left side of the defense and the Jets defense has been a question mark, or entering the season it was a question mark. Now it becomes even more of a question mark after Dylan Samberg had really solidified alongside Neil Pionk that second pairing. Now it's going to likely be one of Ville Heinola, we expect it to be Heinola. Maybe it's Hayden Fleury for a brief period of time to get Heinola up to speed. But it's a bad night for the Winnipeg Jets. It gets a little bit worse, Dave, with the news that Dylan Samberg is out of the lineup with that broken foot after blocking that shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's no sugarcoating it. I mean, he's become an integral part of this Winnipeg Jets hockey club. So if you lose someone like Dylan Samberg, guess what? Your team is now in having to deal with a little bit of adversity, which again, with considering that you have gone 20 games without having to really deal with any significant, injury news, which, I mean, obviously something's up with Scheifele because he in the first period, it's like Gabriel Velarde, he's kicked out of the faceoff dot. Oh, Kyle Connor, the center extraordinaire, is going to take the faceoff. And then, of course, Mark Scheifele defers to them both. So he's clearly dealing with something. And like I said, this is something that happens to players in the league. The leagues that they start the season, you generally hope that they're healthy, but they're going to be almost every player is going to be dealing with something by the end of the year. So this is the Jets having to deal with it. And like I said, one of the things that Kevin Cheveldayoff has spoken about is the depth of this organization. So you say you have depth. Let's see. I mean, look, there's a reason they didn't send Dylan Coghlan down. I suspect they think that if they send Dylan Coghlan down, he might get claimed. Now, some people would say, well, why? He hasn't played in 20 games. Well, there's clearly a reason, because they could have sent him down. He's not playing any games. He's not really doing much, but they didn't. So I guess what I'm saying, Drew, is that it's not just an opportunity for Ville Heinola. It's an opportunity for any of these guys. And it's, Logan Stanley. Remember when I talked to Scott Arneal, whatever it was, 4 or 5 days ago, and he said, well, he's not going to be on the ice for the next 4 or 5 days, but he's coming on the road trip with us. We don't know how far away Logan Stanley is. So it could be Stanley and Heinola coming in for Samberg and Fleury. Like it's just, I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not saying Stanley would be in on Monday, but I'm just saying that it could be shortly thereafter. I'm just saying that the depth that this organization has on D, it's going to get tested, and you're going to see how these guys are going to be able to bounce back. And, at the end of the day, you also have Connor Hellebuck in net for as a bit of a safety blanket to offset any sort of concerns in that regard.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the news out of tonight's game between the Winnipeg Jets and the Nashville Predators. The 4-1 defeat on the ice, and then the off-ice injury news that Dylan Samberg has broken his foot and is going to be out of the lineup moving forward, heading back to Winnipeg to be reassessed either Sunday or Monday. And, of course, news to follow on that front. It'll be available on illegalcurve.com as well as here. We'll discuss it on the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show on Saturday mornings. Let's get into the game recap. It's a good one for the Predators fans among us, not so good for the Jets fans. It's brought to you by Play Now.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show as well as the Illegal Curve hockey show. Reminder, if you haven't yet done so, head over to our Instagram page, head over to our Facebook page, right up at the top. You can't miss it. Big prominent advertisement, big prominent picture. We want to send you, in conjunction with our friends at Play Now, we want to send you to the Jets Habs game, which is taking place 3 weeks from today. So head over to our social media channels. All the instructions are there about how to enter the draw. We're going to send one lucky winner, give them 4 tickets to go check out the Jets and the Habs 3 weeks from tonight, Saturday night, December the 14th, downtown Winnipeg, Hockey Night in Canada, or as we call it here on the show, HNIC. So we want to send you all there to see the Jets and the Habs. So get over to our social media channels and be sure to enter that. Thanks to our friends at Play Now. You also know to not bet on illegal sites, bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. The Jets came out well to start. They had some chances early on in the game. The aforementioned Dylan Samberg sort of fanned on a 3-on-1 opportunity. You wonder if that one goes in. If it's a different game altogether. The Jets started well, but then they sort of faded after the 7-8 minute mark of the first period. UC Saros made a number of big saves to keep the Predators in the game. And then after really not much from Nashville. They get a goal from Roman Josi, his third of the season. Assist to Jonathan Marchessault, assist to Mark Jankowski. A lot of traffic in front of Eric Comrie. You could see on the replay, he did not see this puck. His eyes were taken away from him, not Oedipus style, metaphorically. Instead, Roman Josi blasting it past them to give the Predators the 1-0 lead, Dave.
Sorry, Drew. That was a very unexpected introduction to the topic of that goal. So I was taken aback slightly. And I was also, of course, trying to update the website to indicate the news about Dylan Samberg. So I was furiously typing as folks have recognized that that's what I do sometimes while you folks, you and Ezzy are busy chatting.
Yeah.
This is Roman Josi. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a soliloquy, not too long of one though, Drew. But I will say, like, Roman Josi is just one of those players, and I, have a tendency to only watch Jets and the Moose play hockey games.
Right.
But he is just a joy to watch. And I remember, I don't even remember when it was, probably before the Jets even came back. But like, there was a game against Chicago, maybe not, but it was a game against Chicago, and Josi just danced through the entire Blackhawks team, and you're just like, you're just blown away about how good he has been, and he's just been so good for years. But this is just, it's the Lowry line on. Tough night for Hayden Fleury, but it because I think he was on for all 3 goals against. Three of the three goals with the goaltender in, I should say, against. But this is just another example of the Jets not clearing the front of the net and allowing Comrie is blocked. He really doesn't have much of a chance to block this one, as far as I can tell. But again, like I said, I'm not a goaltender, but there's Scheifele's.
But you could see he doesn't react till the puck is past him. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like Scheifele,
yeah,
because you got Scheifele in front taking a man, and then you've got Fleury up high, and then there's another Jet. So there's a whole group in front
of the net, just not the traffic the Jets wanted in front of the net.
Well, that's just it. So the problem for the Jets is that's one of those areas that you just and it's unfortunate because, like you said, the Jets have been outplaying Nashville to that point, and they had generated a number of chances and a number of good looks, and they just couldn't bury things. And that's where you credit UC Saros. I mean, UC Saros was excellent for as much as we're lauding Eric Comrie for his play, and we deservedly so because he was excellent, especially through 40 minutes. But you have to similarly credit UC Saros because he was also excellent in this hockey game. And there's that one chance with Kyle Connor looking skyward where Saros made a fantastic save. And to me, this is just one of those situations where, you don't clear the front of the net. You give them time and space. Roman Josi, smart guy. It's not overly powerful, but he just gets it on. He's got a great shot, and it's in the back of the net. Now you got a 1-0 deficit.
Yeah, and that's where the first period ended at that point in time.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Well, you got
the disallowed goal. Is that you want to talk about? Sorry.
Kind of an important detail there.
Of course, because it was 6 seconds.
Drew, give the video coaches their due at least.
Drew, I do apologize to the Jets video coaches. So 16 seconds after the Josi goal, it looked like the Predators were going up 2-0 in what was a broken play. You could sort of see watching live on the television broadcast that it just looked awkward. The zone entry looked awkward, and immediately my thought went to, was that onside? And fortunately for the Winnipeg Jets, in fact, it was not onside. You could see that Colton Sissons put himself offside in trying to gather the puck. It was on edge. It was bouncing. It looked a little bit like one of those rubber balls bouncing all over the place. We guess a rubber puck in this case. But it was called off after the Predators had scored, and that really looked like had that goal counted, it would have been 2-0. Halfway through the first period, and the Jets' hill to climb would have been far more significant. Instead, the coaching staff for the Jets called down, they got it reviewed, and it was ruled no goal. So yes, thank you, Dave, for reminding me about that.
No problem.
Okay, so 1-0 now. I can go and say it's 1-0 after 20 minutes for the Nashville Predators. The Jets start the second period, and you could tell that if they were going to get one past UC Saros in tonight's game, it was not going to be a pretty tic-tac-toe kind of goal. It was going to be a mucker. It was going to be a grinder. It was going to be a dirty goal with bodies left, right, and center, and that's exactly what it was. Adam Lowry at the 9:58 mark of the second period ties it up. his 4th of the year, assist to Nino Niederreiter, assist to Mason Appleton. It's on a delayed penalty as the Preds are about to be penalized. It's a goal mouth scramble, an old-fashioned goal mouth scramble. Niederreiter's on his stomach after getting cross-checked to the ground. Lowry is hacking and whacking and smacking and something else with ing, I guess.
Come on, Drew.
At the end, but
One more.
in any event, he deposits the puck past UC Saros to tie the game up at 1 goal apiece. An ugly goal, but that was what it was going to take to beat UC Saros on tonight's game.
Yeah, I mean, it was not going to be something that, like, it just didn't seem like this Jets team was connected enough, if I can say it like that, to get something fancy. It just didn't seem like that was the way. So you needed a mucker. You needed someone who was going to be in the dirty areas, and no surprise, that's exactly where Adam Lowry tends to put himself. Nino Niederreiter is getting killed by, it was interesting because for a moment, they talked about it on the broadcast, would the Predators challenge for goalie interference? But it's hard to do that when the guy is getting pushed into your goaltender. And, credit Niederreiter because he did make a little bit of contact with Saros's pads during the play. But I just like the fact that the Jets didn't give up here. Appleton just smartly, he's not going to put it right to Saros. He puts it to the front because Saros could cover it if he puts it at him. So instead he puts it into the front where he sees all the chaos. And, you've got a guy in 6'5" in Adam Lowry. That's a lot of chaos right there. Nino Niederreiter, he's causing chaos from where he is. And yeah, you're right, Drew. It's a scramble play, and the Jets have tie it up courtesy of Adam Lowry's 4th goal of the season.
That's right. And it's 1-1 halfway through the game. So you restart the game at that point, not really tongue in cheek, but then the Predators really take over for the remainder of that second period. They tally 18 shots on goal in the second period. Eric Comrie is absolutely standing on his head in just getting the Jets out of the second period with a number of grade A opportunities for Nashville, and Eric Comrie standing upright and making a number of saves. The reflex save off the deflection, the glove save is the one that really comes to mind as one that, you're seeing, or you saw with Eric Comrie tonight, a goalie who was at the top of his game. Yes, he ends up giving up the 3 goals, forgetting about the 4th into the empty net, but he was feeling it tonight. He was feeling confident and aggressive in how he was playing. You could see he was up at the top of his circle, at the top of the crease in challenging the shooters, and really looked dialed in. And the Jets needed him to be that dialed in just to have a sniff of this game, given how Nashville really poured it on, particularly late in that second period. Yeah,
Eric Comrie was sensational. I mean, he made what were the high danger chances in the second period?
In the second period, you asked, the high danger chances were 5-1 in the Predators' favor. Well, at 5-on-5.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't have to finish in the Predators' favor. I'm fairly certain everybody in the chat knew that that it was in favor of Nashville.
Yeah, 11-3 were the high danger chances overall 5-on-5 in tonight's game, which tells you what you need to know about how one-sided it was.
Yeah, there's no question. And Eric Comrie, you're right, Drew. He was able to adjust, and he battled, and he kept this team in this game throughout the course of the hockey game, but specifically in that second period, in the middle frame, where he makes the 18 saves. Like, the Jets had no business being in a 1-1 game after 40 minutes, but they were because of the play, the exemplary play, I would say, of Eric Comrie. So because of that, they're happy to be down, or to be, tied, and they're lucky to be in that position because, as I said, this team, I could just see it. Like, it's not even just the passing was bad. Just the decision-making was questionable. Like, Dylan DeMello, there were a couple of pinches, and you left. And I will say in this, in response to my own kind of thought process here, that I thought it was curious that Nashville actually handled the puck like it was a grenade as well, because there were 3 or 4 chances where the Jets.
That tells you it's a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence, who hasn't been able to score goals this year.
For sure, but they look like an AHL team in that regard, because the one thing we noticed, those of us who watch the AHL all the time constantly talk about, is the fact that when the difference is that when you're in the NHL, the pass goes from here to here, and it's where it's supposed to be, generally speaking, of course.
Right.
In the AHL, it's chaos. And don't get me wrong, they're still fantastic hockey players, but the it is just not as in line as you would expect at the NHL, which isn't a shock because it's the greatest league in the world versus the second best. But my point is that Nashville was passing. Like there was about 3 or 4 chances I thought that the Predators had where a soft pass to the middle results in a breakaway or a 2-on-1. And they're just their passes are way out in front, way out ahead. It looked like a disjointed team. But the Jets also looked disjointed. And like I said,
it was not a very well played game. It was not a clean game by either team, I think is your point.
No, that is my point. And I just thought that, like I said, the Jets, they handled the puck like a grenade, but they also made some bad decisions and pinches that, especially when the game, it's one thing if you're down 3-1 and you're pinching, fine. I have no problems with that. Right. But when it's either 1-0 or it's a 1-all game and you're making a pinch to, try and like level a hit, but the puck is going out, it's just bad decision making, and I just didn't like it. And I thought Dylan DeMello, was kind of noticeable for the wrong reasons tonight.
The Predators end up getting the game-winning goal at the 3:20 mark of the third period. Josh Morrissey's in the penalty box. I believe it was hooking, was the call, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. He takes a penalty at minute 26 into the third period, and the Jets do an admirable job almost killing it off. And really, this tells you all the kind of night that it was. Hayden Fleury with a really solid block on the Philip Forsberg shot here. Mm-hmm. And what happens with the puck? It goes perfectly onto the stick of Steven Stamkos. By the way, Stamkos looks terrible. He looks like a shell of himself at 5-on-5. But that's he's standing in the Steven Stamkos spot on the power play, and because of the shot block, Comrie has been out to challenge Forsberg. The puck ricochets onto the stick of Stamkos, who makes no mistake on it. I mean, this was one of the easier ones in his career. Just a bad bounce for the Winnipeg Jets, a fortuitous bounce for a Nashville Predators team that needed a fortuitous bounce, and they take the 2-1 lead early in the third period, which proves to be the game-winning goal.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it was just unfortunate because Comrie was excellent, and you're right, Drew. Steven Stamkos does not look like the Steven Stamkos that we are. He's not the Steven Stamkos. He's still got a great shot. And right. I'm sure, Dylan Samberg could attest to that because it broke his foot. And you can see it in this, you can see it on this play where he is, still fantastic in that regard. And, like I said, I'm sure Jets fans, what year was it when he got the 60 goals and it was the 60th goal was in Winnipeg? Was that the first year of the Jets or the second year?
No.
Well, it couldn't have been the second year because that was a lockout year.
Yeah.
It was either the first year or the third year.
No, I think it was the third year.
So I mean, Jets fans back in the South Lease days were used to seeing Steven Stamkos. He had a lot of success against the Atlanta/Winnipeg franchises.
Yes, he did.
But regardless, like I said, you're right. He is not what he was, as my Baba Tootsie would say. What was, and that perfectly applies to Steven Stamkos' ability at 5-on-5. But this is a power play. This is where you have the man advantage, and this is where when he is in that spot, he is not missing that shot, and he's not missing that opportunity. And it's just an unfortunate bounce because, Comrie is positioned, like you said, to make the save on Forsberg. Yeah. And the block by Fleury sends it right over to Stamkos, and that ends up being the game-winner goal.
Yeah, and then the Predators make it 3-1 just under 2 minutes later. Jonathan Marchessault, they're saying it's unassisted on this one. The Jets, were hard back, but nobody was really picking up the guy. The trailer comes in, he gathers up the rebound, and he makes no mistake of it, beating Eric Comrie. And at that point in time, you sort of did know that the game was. I didn't feel that the Jets were going to be coming back from a 3-1 deficit in this game. They had a power play opportunity.
That was the only opportunity, really.
What's that?
Like the power play was like the only chance of them getting even remotely back into this game is if because that's with, I think, what was it with, Drew? Like 9 or 10 minutes to go?
11 minutes to go or so. But you're right. If they had scored there, then it's a 1-goal game. Who knows? But Nashville did a really good job of neutralizing the Winnipeg Jets, and the Jets just didn't have it. I mean, when you go, again, second half of back-to-back, and now you're down to 5 defensemen. After you lose Samberg to the broken foot, which of course we didn't know at the time it was a broken foot, you could tell the Jets, Nashville was doing a very good job of making life miserable on the Jets, not allowing them to play with any speed through the neutral zone, not allowing the Jets to play a Winnipeg Jets-esque game. And the way UC Saros was playing, you also knew that it just felt like it was going to be an impossible hill to climb in tonight's contest. And then the Predators wrap it up with the empty net goal. Roman Josi, his second of the game, assist to Ryan O'Reilly late in the third period, Dave.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it just didn't feel like the Jets had a chance to come back in this one. I thought that if they don't score on the power play, then the likelihood. And remember, as good as the Jets power play has been, folks, this is the number one penalty killing unit in the
Right.
NHL.
Strength
You can
on
see
strength.
them. Well, it's funny that is their biggest strength as a team. And again, UC Saros, excellent goaltender.
Mhm.
And they're aggressive. They don't give the Jets time to set up. Jets still had some good looks, I thought, but they just weren't able to get anything really done. And again, if I go through this team collectively, it wasn't a great game from the Scheifele line. It wasn't a great game from the Nemesnikov line. I thought the Lowry line was decent, and the Kupari line was okay. But again, collectively, I thought the team.
They were the best line, I thought. I mean, and their possession numbers were huge. 88% possession numbers for the for IFL.
How much they played though?
And Barron. They played 6 minutes at 5-on-5.
Wow.
So I mean, which is
it's fine. I mean, again, like I said, it's not. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because I thought like I said, I thought they were fine, okay, good, whatever you want to call it. But again, I didn't think that the team overall, other than Eric Comrie, was anything that anyone was going to be writing home about.
I would agree with you there. And before we go to break, of course, we still have to do this.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Now, you're probably saying, Drew, you already talked about the Jets' only goal, the Adam Lowry goal, and that's true. And they didn't give that one the Seagram shot of the game. Instead, I'm going to give it to Gustav Nyquist for the Seagram's headshot of the game.
Yes.
His hit on Josh Morrissey, I did not like.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, we've been doing the post-game show, so I didn't see it. And I'm just reading what the good folks in the chat were saying is that the Sportsnet panel was justifying the hit, where to me, it looked like there was not we talked about it with Jamie Thomas this morning. The Zach Whitecloud hit on Matthew Nyes was body to body. That, he went up through his chest and maybe got a little bit of the head in that hit, which is a legal hit in the NHL. Right. This one, Nyquist just looks like he picks off Josh Morrissey's head. Doesn't do the same level of damage that Ryan Reeves did to Darnell Nurse, about a week ago or however many days ago that was now. But to me, this also looks like a headshot. This looks like Nyquist, getting way more of Morrissey's head than any other part of Morrissey's body. And I did not like the hit. You saw that Mark Scheifele didn't like the hit because he went and he delivered 3 slashes to Nyquist right after he gave the hit. Nyquist did not drop the gloves. It looked like Scheifele said to him, I want to drop him. Let's go about this. It was a bad hit. I did not like it. And if people are justifying it, I'm really not sure I understand the justification on it. It did look like he got him with a blindside shot to the head.
Yeah, it was weird because I kind of watched it and I thought, and then I was watching the social media and I was like, well, there's not really a lot of reaction, but I'm not really sure why, because the only thing I will say is, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, is that Morrissey is in a vulnerable position because he is down. He's put himself down trying to reach down for the puck. So he's not standing up. He's reaching down. But just because you put yourself
it wasn't a simultaneous action like that. I thought Nyquist, Morrissey went down to, you're right. He was, the puck was bouncing. He went to control the puck with his gloved hand. And then it was only then afterwards, there was a pause there when Nyquist comes in. I don't think it's a simultaneous action to justify the shot.
But the reality also is that, like, again, we've all played hockey, not at the NHL level, but we've all played hockey. And so for me, when a guy is, you could direct the hit. I mean, it just seemed like the head was targeted. To me, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I was surprised also. I agree with John Garrett on the broadcast. I'm surprised that he wasn't pulled to be tested for concussion because, I mean, it hit him square across the head, and yet there was no penalty and no. I don't like it. I thought it was a stupid, unnecessary play. And I like that Scheifele was willing to, go, especially given whatever he's dealing with, still willing to drop the gloves and go to his teammates' defense. So, I didn't like the hit at all. I thought it was dirty. I thought it was stupid. But I mean, we're entitled to our opinion, just like the HNIC, H-Nick folks.
Say it properly.
H-Nick. Although I mean, I'm surprised that they actually were talking about the Jets because, it's for you to get more than 1 minute of Jets news on an actual, I understand it's not just a Jets broadcast, but Holy
Yeah,
moly! It is
they must have
painful to watch.
They must have lost the satellite feed to something else that they would have rather been talking about.
Well, I actually thought it was going to be fantastic because in the beginning of the game, their audio clearly wasn't working because you couldn't hear anything on the broadcast. And I was like, "Oh, this will be nice. We won't actually want to hear anything. We can just watch the game." But just put Paulie Edmonds into the old TV or beside the TV, and you can play Paulie instead of this. But unfortunately, it showed up. So
there you go. Bad night for the Winnipeg Jets. They lose 4-1 in Nashville. Bad night off the ice as well. They lose Dylan Samberg to a broken foot. He's going to be out of the lineup for a period of time. We don't yet know. We're not going to speculate, but certainly won't see him on Monday in Minnesota when the Jets will do battle against the Minnesota Wild in the next game on this 6-game road trip. I thought you were wanting to say something, but maybe not. We'll go to break. Okay, fair enough. We'll go to break.
I got nothing. Nothing.
This has been the Play Now game recap, courtesy of our friends at Play Now. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back. We'll wrap up tonight. Dave will talk about the Moose game, and we'll.
There's a positive.
There's a positive. The Moose won. We'll talk about that next. Much more to come. It's the Illegal Curve post game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on a Saturday night.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
9:45 p.m. If you feel as though we're getting a little bit tired, it's true. It's our 3rd show in the last 24 hours. So excuse us if we're getting a little bit tired.
Who's saying we're tired, Drew?
I'm saying I'm tired. You might have all the energy of a young, stallion, but I'm an old gray mare sometimes, and I ain't what I used to be. So I'm feeling a little bit tired on this Saturday night. And I'm not going to sing though. I mean, I know people wanted me to start singing "Old Gray Mare," but after the bad feedback I got when I serenaded Billick last week, I'm not going to sing anymore, at least for a while.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, Jets lose 4-1 tonight. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on a Saturday night talking about the Jets and the Nashville Predators. But some good news on a darker night otherwise is that the Manitoba Moose were victorious this afternoon. And Dave M will tell us all about that in tonight's.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manouk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Still haunts my dreams.
Not mine, Drew. It's effervescent every time I watch it. It's like, oh wow, it's just so nice, so enjoyable. Anyways, let's get into it. The Moose in action, looking to avenge a poor 5-0 loss to the Chicago Wolves on Thursday in the school day game. This is the conclusion of a 3-game mini series which got started last weekend in Chicago, where the Moose won the game 5-3. So this would be the winner take all third game, with each team having won one. Well, it was going to be the AHL debut for Jets prospect Fabian Wagner. He, of course, is the Swedish prospect who had his contract terminated in Sweden at his request, so he could come overseas and play in Manitoba. He observed the first game and, of course, was going to dress for his AHL debut with Manitoba. No Simon Lundmark, who was listed as unavailable by Daniel Fink. I didn't get insight as to why he was unavailable. I did see him in the press box, so he seemed fine. So maybe he's dealing with something. I'm not certain, but we'll get an update this week on him. And Capo Kakinen would be getting his third straight start for the Manitoba Moose, so relying heavily on the veteran. And it was the 25th anniversary game for the Manitoba Moose. So I don't know if you folks saw the jerseys. Drew, you're an expert at pulling up that second screen. So if you want to, maybe pull up that tweet that I sent out earlier in the day, because these jerseys are fantastic. The specialty jerseys, every time the Moose do them, they really hit them out of the park. And these ones were no different. This is, again, celebrating 25 years of Manitoba Moose hockey here in the province. Of course, from 1996 till 2011, that was 15 years. And then the last 10 years, so 25 years. And of course, there was a few years in St. John's, but 25 years of Moose hockey here in this province, whether it was IHL or AHL. But yeah, these are the jerseys that they wore. That's Dominic Toninato, of course, that's the back. And then there's Daniel Torgerson, who is showing off the front. But real slick, they look great. And yeah, they wore them today, and as Brad Lambert later would say, we're 1-0 in those jerseys. So that was pretty good for them. And things got off to there was a moment of silence for Chad Posthumus, who of course passed away, the Sea Bears player and Winnipegger. So that was nice that they started the game off with recognizing him. A lot of kind of cool moments. They had the PA announcers, Jay Richardson, who was a PA announcer in the 90s and early 2000s, and Evan Duncan, who's now a city councilor. So Jay Richardson, of course, is now the Jets PA announcer, and Evan Duncan, who is a city councilor for Charleswood, they both were back, and Jay Richardson did the first period. Devin Duncan did the second period, and then Dave Turnbull, who's the PA announcer now, he did the third period. So kind of fun that they had it that way. And then lots of different features, Mark Chipman talking about the what the team means to the city and the province, and from old players and 25 years of players. So they're celebrating the history of this team. And I have to tell you, like, unlike the Jets, the Moose they obviously got an earful from their coach, because they were abysmal. They didn't create anything on Thursday. And the first period, all they did was create. Dustin Tokarski was excellent in net for Chicago. The Moose also hit, I think, 3 posts and a crossbar. Brad Lambert was very good in the first period. And you could see that he's, a little frustrated. He hasn't been scoring much. Eventually, the second period, Kevin Connolly, he got his first goal for the Moose. Fabian Wagner was on a 2-on-0 with him and created an opportunity. Dylan Hanhorn, the college signee, he looked really good. His skating is excellent. The Moose go down 2-1. I gave up a power play goal late in the second, so they were down 2-1. And you're starting to think, well, this is not looking good for the Moose. Maybe they're going to keep losing. Mason Shaw, the veteran, made a nice little play. Brad Lambert scored a beautiful goal. Like, just really nice. Took a shot, grabbed his own rebound, went around Tokarski, deposited it into the empty net. And you could just see him celebrate pretty significantly. So it's only his second goal of the year, but you could see that Brad Lambert was feeling good about that.
Yeah.
And then 56 seconds later, the Minnesotan Dominic Toninato, he gets, I think, his 5th goal of the year. Just a good screen by Parker Ford. And suddenly a 2-1 deficit is now a 3-2 lead. And then Brad Lambert finished it off by using his speed, grabbing a loose puck and depositing into the back of the net, make it a 4-2 game, which is exactly how it would end. Although it actually looked like it was going to be 5-2 for a minute because the Moose scored Ben King scored an empty net goal, but it was ruled offside. So the Moose take it 4-2 and split the weekend set with Chicago. But like I said, seem to be kind of getting their footing a little bit more and playing a little bit more significantly. Ville Heinola, well, I don't have to share what the Ville Heinola expectations and comments were because we already did that on Eric Dubois. So yeah, it was a good game for the Moose. And I'll be honest with the folks, because I've done the Jets. We did the morning papers ready for you at 7:00. We did the Illegal Curve Hockey Show at 9. I did the Moose game at 2. I did the Jets game at 6. So I haven't had a chance to check the OHL, WHL scores to see how the prospects did. But I promise you, before the night is over, I will have those updates for you as well.
You could even do it tomorrow. It's okay. The Jets are off tomorrow. You'll need
No, I don't want to. Drew, I'm off tomorrow.
Okay,
I'm going to have
taking Sunday off. There you go. Well deserved. We're all going to take Sunday off.
The papers will be updated. Yeah. When Ville Heinola gets recalled, I will update the website. Yeah. But I can tell you, I will not be thinking about hockey in any way, shape, or form on Sunday.
I think that is more than reasonable. It's been a great weekend. It's been a busy weekend. So we're going to enjoy our Sunday, but we'll be right back at it on Monday with the Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the Minnesota Wild. So right around the 9:45 or so start time, you can tune in for that. It will be a heated game. It always is between the Jets and the Wild, and Monday night will be no different. So tune in for that. And the best way to tune in for that is to set a reminder by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback, and tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thank you to all the sponsors who make this show, the Saturday show, the website, a possibility. Our friends at Play Now, they're the title sponsor of this show. Remember, the draw, go enter it now. 4 tickets 3 weeks from tonight. The Jets and the Habs, Illegal Curve, Play Now, Manitoba. We're sending you to that game. Go to our social media channels, Facebook and Instagram, and enter the contest there. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, and Seagram's support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Smash the like button on your way out if you haven't already done so. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Monday night. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.